Nia stepped into the quiet courtyard just as the sun began to rise, carrying a bowl of hot porridge in her hands and a soft hope in her heart. Her belly was growing with new life, and she tried to calm her nerves by humming a silly tune. She even laughed at the cats spinning in circles, and that small laugh made her feel brave. But when she reached the gate, Mama Sefu stood waiting, her face tight with old judgment. She spoke a few cold words that stung more than the morning air. Before Nia could answer, the older woman's hand lifted and struck her cheek. The slap was sharp, sudden, and the bowl slipped from Nia's hands, spilling porridge across the stones. Her smile fell apart into a shocked breath, and everything in the compound went still as if the world itself held its breath. The sun warmed her skin but felt almost accusing, like it had seen too much. Nia didn't shout, didn't fight. She simply turned and walked away with shaking hands, her cheek burning, her heart pounding. Deep inside, beneath the hurt, a decision quietly took shape, strong and heavy, like a storm getting ready to break. Nia stayed after the slap, even though her cheek still burned and her heart felt unsteady. She stayed because inside her, a tiny life was growing, beating softly like a small drum only she could hear. She told herself she could manage the hurt, because love is rarely simple and sometimes it holds you in place even when it scares you. So each morning she pushed herself out of bed and started fresh. She cooked, cleaned, swept the yard, and tried to keep her spirits steady. She talked to her belly in a playful voice, giving the baby silly nicknames that made her smile even when she felt tired. Sometimes she sang soft lullabies, and neighbors passing by would pause to listen, surprised by the sweetness coming from a house known for loud arguments. During the day she moved with calm hands, but inside she carried a tight knot of worry. Every time she glanced toward Mama Sefu, she found the older woman watching her. Mama Sefu's eyes were sharp, guarded, full of judgments she never said out loud. Yet hidden underneath was something else, a flicker of worry she could not quite hide. It confused Nia, because the woman who had slapped her that morning now hovered like someone unsure of her own anger. Nia tried not to think about it. She focused on small things, stirring tea, hanging clothes in neat lines, placing her palm on her belly whenever the baby fluttered. These moments became her shelter. But when the sun went down and the house quieted, all the emotions she swallowed during the day came rushing back. She curled into her pillow, crying softly so no one could hear. Her tears were quiet and careful, like she was afraid of breaking the night. Sometimes she heard footsteps in the hallway and sensed Mama Sefu standing just outside the door. The older woman never entered, never spoke, but Nia felt her presence like a question hanging in the air. It made the nights even heavier, filled with things neither of them dared to say. Still, the house began to shift in small ways. A cup left on the table for her, a blanket folded neatly, a moment where Mama Sefu hesitated before snapping at her. These tiny gestures felt fragile, like glass that could crack at a touch. Nia held onto them anyway, protecting them like seeds that might someday grow into something better. And so the days continued in quiet tension, like the whole house was waiting, holding its breath, knowing that something bigger was coming. The storm had not arrived yet, but its shadow already touched their lives, and each kindness or silence felt like the air before heavy rain. Rumors in Songia spread with a speed that feels almost unreal. It takes only one careless sentence, one neighbor leaning over a fence, one whisper in a crowded bus, and suddenly the whole town thinks it knows everything about Nia's life. Someone says the baby isn't Sefu's son. Someone else claims Nia is too gentle for a family known for strong voices and sharp opinions. The stories twist and grow, changing shape like smoke in the wind, until even children repeat them while skipping down the road. At first Nia tries to ignore it, but everywhere she goes, the words seem to follow her. She hears them on the bus, spoken in voices just low enough to pretend they aren't meant for her. She hears them in the market when women pause their conversation the moment she walks by. She sees it in the way people avoid her eyes, like looking at her might pull them into her troubles. She forces herself to laugh at some of the rumors, because laughter is the only thing that keeps her from breaking in two. She tells herself that if she can laugh, then the lies cannot own her. But some days the whispers hit too close to the soft places inside her. She'll be buying vegetables or folding clothes when a word or glance slices through her calm, and suddenly her hands shake and her throat tightens. There are moments when she hides behind a door or sits on the back of a bus and cries quietly, hoping no one sees the tears she can't hold back. Baraka, her husband, feels the rumors like stones pressing on his chest. He tries to protect her, tries to speak for her, but he is stuck between the two women he loves. His mother's voice pulls him one way, full of fear and pride, and Nia's pain pulls him the other way. He doesn't know how to choose, and the confusion shows on his face every day. He walks around like a man caught in a storm without shelter, guilt in every step. When he tries to defend Nia at home, his voice wavers. When he tries to calm his mother, he sounds like a boy again. Nothing he says seems enough. The house feels the weight of this tension. Walls that once held normal family noise now echo with unspoken fears. Meals are eaten in silence. Steps in the hallway feel heavy. Even the air seems tired. Nia moves through the days feeling watched, judged, and yet determined to keep her baby safe. She holds her belly with both hands, whispering promises, reminding herself that inside all this noise, there is still a small heartbeat she must protect. And the rumors, no matter how loud, cannot drown out the quiet strength growing within her. Nia finally decides to leave for a few nights, carrying only a small bag and the quiet strength she has been building inside herself. She rents a tiny room above a tailor's shop in Ekinu. The room is simple, with thin walls and a window that lets in more noise than air, but it feels like a place where she can breathe without fear. She spends her days helping the tailor stitch old clothes back to life. She learns how to barter for thread and buttons, how to stretch a single coin until it can cover a whole day, and how to fix a torn seam with hands that used to shake. The women who pass through the shop notice her gentle smile and the curve of her belly. They tell her their own stories, stories of fights, heartbreak, and recovery. They speak with calm voices, as if pain has turned them wise instead of bitter. They give her warm soup when she looks tired and show her a strong stitch that never comes undone. In that small upper room, Nia starts to feel herself becoming someone steadier. Every morning she wakes to the smell of cloth and the sound of people calling in the street. She places her hands on her belly and hums softly. The baby kicks back, tiny and sure, like answering her song. That little kick fills her with a joy so bright she sometimes laughs right there in the middle of the road, surprising strangers who pass by. It feels like she has found a new kind of freedom, one built from small moments that belong only to her. But nights are different. When she lies on the thin mattress, the day's strength sometimes melts away. She remembers the slap, the rumors, the silence in the house she left behind. The laughter she carried all day turns into a soft sob pressed into the pillow. It hurts, but the hurt feels cleaner now, like her heart is repairing itself stitch by stitch. Little by little, Nia begins to understand that the scars she carries are not signs of weakness. They are proof of everything she has survived. They are lessons written on her skin and spirit, teaching her how to stand tall even when the world tries to bend her. And as she sits by the window each evening, watching the lights of Ekinu flicker on, she knows she is building herself again, this time stronger, this time wiser, this time ready for whatever comes next. Late in her pregnancy, Nia wakes one morning feeling heavier than usual, her breath a little shorter, her steps slower. She tells herself it is normal, that every mother feels this way near the end. But while walking through the market, carrying a small basket of vegetables, a sharp pain shoots through her side. Her vision blurs. The world tilts. Before she can call for help, her knees buckle. She collapses on the market steps, clutching her belly as people rush toward her. Some shout for a motorbike, others try to lift her gently, their voices shaky with fear. By the time she reaches the clinic, her heartbeat is racing, and the nurse's face grows tight as she listens to the baby's small rhythm struggling to keep steady. Everything feels too bright, too fast. The clinic smells of medicine and worry. Nia trembles on the bed, her hands cold, her breath unsteady, her thoughts whispering prayers for the tiny life inside her. News spreads quickly, faster than kindness or judgment. Someone tells someone else, and soon the message reaches Mama Sefu. It slips past the walls she built around her anger. She drops the pot she is washing, water splashing at her feet, and without thinking she runs through the streets, calling for a ride, her chest tight with panic she cannot hide. When she arrives at the hospital, she spots Nia sitting alone in the corridor, wrapped in a clinic gown, her face pale and frightened. The sight hits Mama Sefu so hard she stops in place. All the sharp words she ever spoke, all the anger she held, melt away in one breath. She walks toward Nia, not with her usual stiff steps but with the frantic urgency of a mother who suddenly remembers what love costs. She kneels beside her, placing a trembling hand on Nia's shoulder. Her voice breaks as she asks what happened. Nia tries to speak, but her lips only tremble. In that moment, something inside Mama Sefu cracks open. Tears rush down her cheeks, loud and messy. She doesn't hide them. She doesn't pretend. She reaches for Nia's hand and holds it tightly, as if discovering it belongs in her own palm. The fear of losing the baby, of losing the girl she once pushed away, burns through her stubborn pride. The memory of the slap rises like smoke, bitter and shameful, but it cannot stand against the raw fear beating in her chest now. They sit together in the bright corridor, two women shaking, both scared for the same tiny heartbeat. And for the first time, Mama Sefu's touch feels like real protection instead of control, like she is finally ready to stand with Nia instead of against her. The baby arrives on a calm evening, crying with a strength that surprises everyone in the room. The tiny fists punch the air like the child is already arguing with the world, already demanding space. When the nurse places the baby in Nia's arms, Nia lets out a shaky laugh, half joy and half disbelief. She kisses the soft forehead again and again, feeling the weight of every fear she carried finally fall away. Baraka stands beside her, wiping his face without even noticing he is crying. He breathes in slowly, as if the whole room has been cleaned of every doubt, every rumor, every fight. But the biggest change happens when Mama Sefu enters. She walks in slowly, unsure of what she will find or what she deserves to feel. When her eyes land on the newborn, something in her stops completely. She steps closer, staring at the tiny face. The baby opens its eyes and looks at her with a bold, steady gaze, as if challenging her to feel something new. And she does. Her expression softens in a way no one has ever seen before. She reaches out with a hand that trembles, not with anger this time, but with awe. When her fingers touch the child's cheek, she gasps quietly, shocked by how warm and real this small life feels. The room falls silent as Mama Sefu lifts the baby. She holds the child close, almost afraid the moment will disappear. Her eyes shine with a tenderness so deep it surprises even her. It is not the love she expected. It is something wilder, heavier, and more honest. Nia watches them with her heart swelling, feeling something inside her loosen. Baraka stands behind his mother, smiling through his tears, relieved in a way words cannot explain. From that day forward, the house changes. The baby's cries echo like songs through the rooms. There are soft coos at dawn, small hiccups during naps, laughter that bubbles up from places none of them knew were still alive. Even when someone snaps or an old wound rises, the sight of the baby reaching up with tiny fingers makes the tension fade. The grudges don't disappear overnight, but they lose their power. Each day the baby becomes the center, the reason to try again, the reminder that love can grow even in places where pain once lived. And without speaking it out loud, they all understand that this child, once doubted and feared, is now the anchor holding the whole family together. Forgiveness grows in the house the way morning light slips in through a half-open curtain, slow and gentle. At first, everything feels awkward. Mama Sefu helps with the baby's baths, her hands stiff, unsure, almost afraid of doing something wrong. But day by day she becomes more confident. She leans over the basin with surprising focus, humming old songs as she pours warm water over the baby's back. Soon she is the one waking before dawn, bringing porridge to Nia's door, knocking softly so she won't startle her. At night, when the baby refuses to sleep, she sits beside Nia in silence, rocking the tiny body with a patience that amazes them both. She even repairs the baby's tiny socks, stitching them carefully with her rough fingers, as if each thread is a quiet apology she doesn't know how to say out loud. Nia tries to trust this change, though some days her heart still feels guarded. She moves between moments of tenderness and moments where old memories tug her backward. Sometimes she watches Mama Sefu with the baby and feels her chest warm. Other times she flinches at a tone or a glance, afraid the past might return. But slowly she lets herself lean into the small acts of care. She begins to see that love can come in hesitant steps, not always in perfect words. Baraka does his best to stand steady between them. He listens more than he speaks now. He fetches water, cooks dinner when Nia is tired, holds the baby while his mother naps, and tries to keep the peace without losing himself. He learns that real support means showing up every day, even in silence. There are still storms. Old hurts rise like sudden thunder. A careless word, a misunderstood comment, and they find themselves arguing again. The house grows tense. Voices rise, tears sting. But then the baby laughs at something small, a finger wiggling, a spoon clinking, and the fight breaks apart. They look at each other, embarrassed, humbled, reminded of what really matters. The baby becomes the calm after every storm, pulling them back together with a single giggle. Month after month, the house softens. Warmth replaces the cold corners. Someone leaves a bowl of sugar on the table for another. Someone slips a little note into a drawer, nothing dramatic, just a small kindness. Shared meals return. Shared jokes follow. Life slowly reshapes itself, becoming fuller, stranger, and kinder than before. The long repair is not perfect, but it is real, and it grows stronger with every fragile, hopeful step they take together. Years later in Nyaru, the child moves through the courtyard with a confidence that fills the whole place. Their small feet slap the ground as they run, fall, rise again, and shout orders only a child can invent. Mama Sefu sits on the porch in her old rocking chair, her hands marked by time but steady as ever. She watches every move with sharp attention. The moment the child slips, she is already up, letting out a sound that is part fear and part joy, scolding and hugging at the same time. Her face has softened over the years, the lines on her skin shaped by quiet victories and long lessons. Sometimes she hums without noticing, and the tune is the same lullaby Nia used to sing during her hardest nights. At family gatherings, Mama Sefu becomes the storyteller, but she no longer talks about who was wrong or who should have behaved better. Instead, she speaks of love, the kind that refuses to give up even when it hurts. She tells everyone how this stubborn little child changed her heart, how they pulled her toward kindness in ways she never expected. Nia listens from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a cloth while watching the two of them. Her laughter now is full and easy, shaking out the last echoes of fear she once carried. Sometimes her eyes shine with tears, not from sadness but from seeing how far they have all come. In the doorway at dusk, the three of them often stand together, their fingers linked. The sun settles over them like warm paint. The house that once held pain now feels alive with belonging, and the child who arrived in a storm became the one who taught them all how to stay.